ask that all things this afternoon go according to your plan, that you give our students, our debaters, the fortitude and the determination to compete and to compete with excellence this afternoon. Lord, we thank you as well for our judges who have graced us with their presence this afternoon. And for our supporters too. In everything, we always give you thanks and we pray for a successful debate this afternoon. Amen. You may be seated. My name is Trudy Christian, and I am the organizer of the Intersecondary Schools Debating Competition. I wanted to assign someone to open up with prayer, but I did not get the opportunity to do so, so I hope I thoroughly bless the room with prayer so that we can semi-finals of the Intersecondary Schools Debating Competition. It gives me great pleasure to be able to be your moderator this afternoon and to introduce you to what is going to proceed this afternoon. This afternoon, we will have a debate between the St. Martin Secondary School and the Wesley High School, both secondary schools, all-girl secondary schools, so we have all-girl competitors this afternoon, and both secondary schools for the first time in the semi-finals. This afternoon as well, of course, as I mentioned, the Dominica Social Security has offered their support for this round of debate, so I'm pleased to welcome the director, deputy director, and other staff members of the Dominica Social Security. And this afternoon we'll be debating a topic specifically given by the Dominica Social Security, so we look forward to that. Let me, first of all, before I introduce the debate and I introduce the moot, let me give a brief overview of what will transpire this afternoon in the way of rules and proceedings. So this afternoon's debate will be, as I said, between the St. Martin Secondary School and the Wesley High School. There will be two speakers representing each school. In the debate this afternoon, the first speaker or the lead speaker of each school will have 10 minutes in which to deliver her arguments, and the second speaker of each school will have 7 minutes in which to deliver her arguments. After this first prepared round or segment of the debate, we will have a 5-minute break in which we will keep as silent as possible to allow the debaters to prepare their rebuttals. We will then restart the proceedings with the rebuttal segment, and the lead speaker from each school will have a maximum of 3 minutes in which to deliver her rebuttal. At the conclusion of the official debate proceedings, the judges will then retire and deliver results to us in quick time. During that intermission period, we will engage in a discussion with the Dominica Social Security, of course, on the moot and on other things that are pertinent to the Dominica Social Security. I also want to ask you, major rule, to make sure that you keep your phones on silent or off throughout today's proceedings so as to not disturb the debaters, and please make sure that there is no movement or walking across the room while the debaters are delivering their arguments. Okay, so very basic rules, and I hope we can all adhere to them this afternoon. This afternoon, there will also be a timekeeper. She's seated at the front. The debaters will look at her periodically to see how long they have. At 1 minute left, she will show a sign to the debaters, letting them know they have 1 minute left, and when their time is up, she will also show a sign. A stranger to the Intersecondary Schools debating competition. He has served as a judge on numerous occasions and also as a moderator. He is a registered nurse and he has a bachelor's youth parliamentarian in 2022 and is a long-standing debate judge. I should also mention he's a Calypsonian I want to see return to the arena and a very good host and MC. Mr. Firelander, the chief judge this afternoon. Our second judge is Mr. Felix Wilson. And Mr. Wilson is also not only no stranger to the Intersecondary Schools debating competition, but no stranger to debating in general, since when he was in Kiwanis, he introduced me to debating. For the Kiwanis schools debate which was occurring at that time. He's a Dominican educator and sports administrator, and he has served for over 2 decades in prominent leadership roles. He's the former principal of the Dominica Grammar School and the former program officer at the UWI Open Campus. As I said, he was very instrumental in the Kiwanis Club of Roseau and the debate competition of the years that I would mention when I was a high schooler. And Mr. Wilson, welcome to the judging panel. Mr. Felix Wilson, our second judge this afternoon. Our third judge this afternoon is Miss Tedra Kirby, and she is Vincentian. She's from St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Miss Kirby has a bachelor's degree in communication studies and history at the University of Leeds and a postgrad diploma in education. She's also a Chevening scholar, and very importantly, she has 15 years of communication experience and is a former lecturer at the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Community College, which is where I first met her when she beat me as a coach in the Windward Islands debating competition of 2020 and 2022, with St. Vincent securing the title after Dominica had been securing it. Successfully beat me in debate competitions. I introduce to you the third judge on the judging panel, Ms. Tedra Kirby. So the judges have been introduced and they are ready. I see score sheets are out. Let's now meet our debaters. On the proposing side of today's debate, we have the St. Martin Secondary School. The St. Martin Secondary School will be represented by Miss Shania John. Miss Shania John, you can stand, is a fifth former. She is interested in becoming a zoologist, but she really likes animal biology. She's a science student, and of course, she represents this afternoon the St. Martin Secondary School, making its way to the semifinals. For the first time, we welcome Miss Shania John to the front. The second speaker from the St. Martin Secondary School will be Miss Kudez Simon. Miss Simon is also a fifth former. She wants to become a criminologist in the future, and she's also a science student. Welcome, Miss Kudez Simon, St. Martin Secondary School. On the opposing side this afternoon, we have the Wesley High School. The Wesley High School will be represented by Miss Hepzibah Ademola. She will be the first speaker. And Miss Ademola is a third former at the Wesley High School. She's a business student. She told me that she plays the violin. Maybe she'll play for us at the conclusion of the debate. And she really enjoys mathematics. I welcome to the front Miss Ademola. The The second speaker from the Wesley High School is Miss Niola Aline. And Miss Aline is also, well, Miss Aline is a fifth former, and she is a business student and an athlete. She also has taken part in the intersecondary schools debating competition before. So this is her second round, her second year in the competition. Miss Aline. So these are our debaters. The topic for this afternoon's debate: the growth in informal sector employment poses a greater challenge to the sustainability of Dominica's social security system than unemployment in the formal sector. I will take the topic again. The growth in informal sector employment poses a greater challenge to the sustainability of Dominica's social security system than unemployment in the formal sector. Proposing the moot, we will have the St. Martin Secondary School, and opposing the moot, we will have the Wesley High School. Now, we have heard the rules of the competition. We have found out who the judges will be this afternoon. The debaters are in place. The topic has been announced. I now ask you, the audience, are you ready for the debate? It's debate time. People listening live, and I forgot to welcome those listening live on Emonews and Dominica News Online. I hope you are ready for debate. We are all ready. Debaters, you ready? Okay, so everybody is ready. So let us proceed. It's debate time. I will call to the podium, firstly, the first speaker from the St. Martin Secondary School, Miss Shania John, to the podium. Miss John will have 10 minutes in which to deliver her argument. Miss John?
Imagine two neighbors. Julian is unemployed, a visible problem the system is built to fix, while Jane runs a cash-only roadside grill. She's employed but invisible. She uses our roads daily, yet hasn't put a single cent into the Social Security pot in over 20 years. While Julian is a temporary leak, Jane is a silent parasite. She looks like a success story, but she's draining the system's lifeblood, leaving the bucket bone dry for everyone when she eventually needs a pension. Moderator, honorable judges, my esteemed opponents, the media, the audience, and to a Dominica that is ready for the truth. Good afternoon. I am here today to assert that the growth in the informal sector poses a greater challenge to the sustainability of Dominica's social security system than unemployment in the formal sector. I will begin by defining a few key terms to ensure truthfulness of my points. Defined by the Dominica Social Security, the DSS is a mandatory government-run program providing social insurance to citizens. Investopedia.com defines economic growth as an increase in the production of economic goods and services in one period compared to a previous period. Investopedia.com also defines sustainability as the ability to maintain or support a process continuously over time. Reference.com says that the informal sector consists of the businesses, enterprises, and economic activities that are monitored, protected, and taxed by the government, whereas the informal sector consists of the workers and enterprises that are not under government regulation. Answers.com defines an unemployed person as someone who is not currently working but is actively seeking employment and is available to work. Cambridge Dictionary states that a challenge is something that needs great mental or physical effort in order to be done successfully. Today, we aren't just discussing employment. We are discussing the survival of Dominica's safety net. My colleague and I will prove that the informal sector is a greater threat than unemployment through three critical pillars. 1. The difficulty in the enforcement and regulation of the informal sector predisposes it to be a challenge. 2. The rapidly growing size of the informal sector as people explore having multiple streams of unreported income does not benefit Social Security. And 3. There is an increase in the dependency ratio of contributors to pensioners due to an increase in the informal sector with minimal corresponding increase in contributions. Today, I rise to speak on a matter that strikes at the very heart of our nation. And unless we confront this matter, it will weaken the very foundation of our pensions, healthcare, and public services. The difficulty in the enforcement sector and regulation of the informal sector predisposes it to be a challenge. Let us begin with unemployment. This is visible. It is measurable. In 2024, Dominica's unemployment rate was estimated at roughly 13%, according to the Central Statistical Office. When someone is out of work, the government knows who they are. They can create jobs and provide support. In addition, the expectation is that, in time, the person will regain employment and resume contributing to the social security system. But the informal sector, it is invisible. According to National Labor Statistics, almost 42% of our workforce operates informally, without contracts, without paying taxes, and without contributing to social security. Ask yourselves this: how do you regulate what leaves no footprint? How do you enforce contributions income that are never reported? How do you ensure the system survives when benefits paid outstrip contributions? This is not a small problem. It is a slow leak, silently draining resources meant for everyone. It is like trying to build a house on sand. No matter how strong the walls, the foundation crumbles. And as Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerritt reminded us in 2021, and I quote, Social Security is not a government handout. It is a system built on contributions. And without those contributions, it cannot survive to pay out benefits. End quote. The rapidly growing size of the informal sector as people explore having multiple streams of unreported income does not benefit Social Security. Let us talk about scale. Informal work in Dominica is not just common. It is a significant part of our economy. If 42% of our workforce operates informally, that means almost half of our workers are outside the reach of contracts, taxation, and social security. Moderator, think about what this really means. It is not just roadside vendors or small stalls. It is unregistered shops, construction workers paid in cash, service providers who never issue receipts. These are people who work hard, yes, but they do so outside the system. And when work is done outside the system, it cannot sustain the system. Some may argue, but people are working. Yes, people are working. But can work that is unregulated, untaxed, and unrecorded really sustain a nation? Can it guarantee pensions, healthcare, or long-term security? The answer is no. When informal work grows unchecked, fewer people contribute to the system, while more people will eventually need support. Dominica's Social Security's website stated, and I quote, your contribution payments guarantee your entitlement to benefits. Without consistent contributions, the system cannot provide pensions, healthcare, or income protection. End quote. The informal sector is like a hole at the bottom of a bucket. And unless we address it, Dominica's bucket, our economy, our social safety net will never hold enough to serve everyone. Lastly, there is an increase in the dependency ratio of contributors to pensioners due to an increase in the informal sector with minimal corresponding increase in contributions. This measures how many individuals rely on the working population. In Dominica, youth unemployment rates remain high, above 30% for ages 15 to 24, according to Labour Force Survey. Combine this with a high informal workforce, and the balance between contributors and dependents is shrinking. Statistics from the Dominica Social Security shows that in 2013 there were 22,082 employees who contributed to Social Security and 755 self-employed and voluntary contributors. That was a ratio of about 30 to 1. By 2023, it was 24,231 to 10,079, a ratio of 22 to 1. Though silently reduced, the difference is still shocking. If those who do not contribute today expect support tomorrow, who will pay for pensions, healthcare, and public services? The ratio of contributions to total pensioners in 2023 was 3 to 4. Imagine this, 3 to 4. When fewer contribute and more depend, the system does not bend. It risks breaking. Imagine a seesaw. On one side, contributors. On the other, dependents. When the balance shifts too far, the seesaw collapses. So, here is the truth. Dominica's challenge is not simply unemployment. It is the invisibility of informal work, the scale of its growth, and the shrinking base of contributors. Together, these forces erode the sustainability of our nation's future. Regulations, legislated contribution, and formalization are not luxuries. They are necessities. Without them, Dominica's economy is a leaking bucket, a collapsing seesaw, a house built on sand. Moderator, it is a visible problem, a leak we can patch with job creation. But the informal sector is a silent parasite. It grows unchecked, drains our social security system, and leaves Dominica's safety net unsustainable. For the sake of our future, we must recognize that the informal sector is the greater threat. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. John. For the judges, her time was 10 minutes and 20 seconds. I'll now call on the lead speaker, the first speaker from the Wesley High School, Ms. Hepzibah Ademola, to deliver her arguments. She will have 10 minutes to do so. Ms. Ademola.
Madam Moderator, honorable judges, worthy opponents, my able colleague, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. We stand here today to debate a question of existential survival, the survival of our social safety net, and the very promise our nation makes to its elderly and vulnerable. My opponents would have you believe that the market vendor or the unregistered taxi driver is the wolf at the door. But honorable judges, they have held the wrong suspect hostage. Therefore, my colleague and I firmly oppose the motion, which states the growth in informal sector employment poses a greater challenge to the sustainability of Dominica's social security system than unemployment in the formal sector. The real threat is not who works in the shadows, it is who does not work at all. Let us set the record straight by defining our term, so we compare apples with apples and not illusions with reality. Growth, according to the Economic Policy Institute, refers to a sustained increase in the proportion of workers engaged in non-traditional employment. Informal sector, according to the International Labour Organization, ILO, refers to all jobs in unincorporated enterprises that produce at least some of their goods or services for sale or barter which are not registered and or do not keep a complete set of accounts. Greater challenge, according to the Oxford Dictionary, refers to a task significantly more difficult or complex than another. Sustainability, according to the United Nations Brundtland Report 1987, refers to development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Formal sector unemployment, according to the International Labour Organization (ILO), refers to the displacement of workers from established entities, banks, hotels, civil service, who were the anchors of the fund. Madam Moderator, to dismantle this motion, the opposition charts a clear and deliberate course. 3 pillars, 3 truths, and 1 unmistakable conclusion. 1. The immediate hemorrhage. 2. The demographic time bomb. And 3. The policy paradox. My able colleague will then follow by exposing the 108% trap, the productivity gap, the brain drain that represents a permanent amputation for our future, and the administrative load fallacy, along with a few recommendations. My first pillar, the immediate hemorrhage, begins where the damage is most urgent, the money. Formal sector unemployment is a burst pipe, not a slow drip. When formal employment in Dominica ticks downward, the DSS doesn't stagnate, it hemorrhages. My opponents are making claim on ifs and buts, since not even the DSS has statistics of the present status of the growth of informal sector. It's all based on assumptions. But for argument's sake, let's consider this. A formal worker earning $7,000 a month contributes over $1,000 monthly. When that job is lost, that $1,000 vanishes instantly. This is a high-value, predictable contribution gone forever. In contrast, it will take about 10 informal vendors to replace that single bank manager's contribution, and that is if you can catch them. Madam Moderator, is it a greater challenge to ask a vendor for a contribution or to watch a hotel chain lay off 200 workers whose mandatory automatic deductions keep the lights on at the DSS? The loss of the formal worker is a double blow. It is like losing both arms and legs at once. And according to the DSS personnel, the projected depletion date for Dominica is 2050. My second pillar is the demographic time bomb. And with a projected depletion date of 2050, every formal worker we lose today brings that clock forward, one tick at a time. And sustainability is about the support ratio, meaning the number of active workers supporting each pensioner. The IDB Caribbean Economics Quarterly, September 2024, notes that this ratio is dropping sharply. As formal jobs disappear, the dependency ratio climbs. It has been noted that between 2024 to 2026, the country is experiencing rapid demographic shifts, resulting from high life expectancy, declining birth rate, and emigration. Yes, Dominica has an increasing aging population of elderly residents and a rising median age, and many citizens are migrating. The result? Fewer workers, more retirees, and the DSS is caught right in the middle. And here is the inconvenience should the government bench is sweeping under the rug. Dominica is getting old fast. We have already raised the retirement age from 55, then 60, and now up to 65, not out of choice, but desperation. Desperate to allow people to continue to work just in an effort to reduce the number of unemployed individuals. Additionally, the large number of retirees, pensioners who are now considered unemployed is leaving the system gasping for air. And I ask, what accelerates this collapse more? A mango vendor on the roadside who was never in the system, or a trained teacher who was paying in but is now unemployed and may be claiming benefits? The informal worker is outside the tent, but formal unemployment shrinks the tent itself. Madam Moderator, my third point is the policy paradox, and it asks a simple but devastating question. Are we solving the right problem? Let us talk about the engine that keeps the DSS running, contributions. The current rate sits between 14.25% and 14.75%, split between employee and employer. The DSS will admit that the majority of the contributions received comes from the formal sector. Informal workers and self-employed cannot match up. Many of them remain at best aspirational contributors, people we hope to one day bring into the system. And yes, informality is a challenge worth addressing. Across the Caribbean, governments and boards are rolling up their sleeves. In Guyana and Anguilla, the ILO is actively partnering with social security institutions to formalize the informal. You can incentivize, simplify, and educate your way into a vendor's pocket. You can make compliance easier, cheaper, and more attractive. But here is where the paradox bites. You cannot incentivize a bankrupt company to pay contributions. You cannot simplify your way out of a recession. You cannot educate a laid-off worker into a contributory bracket they no longer occupy. The informal sector is a dynamic landscape. Difficult, yes, but shapeable. Formal unemployment, however, is not a policy inconvenience. It is a house on fire. So I put the question plainly. Do we spend our energy fixing the leaky faucet of informality? Or do we turn our full attention to the category 5 hurricane of formal unemployment that is ripping the roof clean off the system? Because, honorable judges, you cannot collect contributions from workers who no longer have jobs. Ladies and gentlemen, do not be seduced by the mirage of the informal sector. Yes, it is large. Yes, it is growing. But potential is not pension, and aspiration does not pay benefit. The real wolf at the door is the unemployment of those already inside the system. Every formal job lost is a double wound, a contribution gone and a liability created. The informal sector is a slow leak. Formal sector unemployment is a burst pipe. To prioritize the former over the latter is to strain at a gnat while swallowing a camel. And we will not waver. 3 reasons anchor our position. They are: it has catastrophic impacts of formal unemployment on revenue, which causes immediate hemorrhage. There is a demographic time bomb, and every lost formal contributor is a systemic crisis. And the policy paradox: informality is a fixable challenge, while unemployment is an existential wound. Ladies and gentlemen, the math is unforgiving. The evidence is clear. Join my colleague and me. Do the right thing. Advance and reject this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ademola. For the judges, her time was 9 minutes and 32 seconds. We now move on to the second speaker of the proposing team, the St. Martin Secondary School, to deliver her arguments. Ms. Kudes Simon, I call you to the podium. You have 7 minutes in which to deliver your arguments. Ms. Simon.
Madam Moderator, honorable judges, attentive audience, and the opposing side, good afternoon. There is a dangerous myth in our society, the idea that what you don't know can't hurt you. But in the case of the Dominica's Social Security, DSS, the income we aren't taxing is exactly what is breaking the system. As the second speaker for the proposition, I am here to prove that while unemployment is a visible wound, the informal sector is the hidden infection draining our future. To demonstrate the threat this poses, I will focus on 2 critical pillars. 1, the financial hemorrhage. I will prove how an unregistered workforce creates a systematic revenue leak. Two, the death of the social contract, proving that a free rider culture breaks public trust. Firstly, Madam Moderator, we are witnessing a structural erosion of the DSS ability to fulfill its promise. As Mrs. Kamasha Lloyd, a communicator and marketing officer of the DSS, has stated, it is incredibly difficult to monitor the self-employed. But Madam Moderator, difficulty is not an excuse for inaction. When an unregistered workforce operates in the shadows, they become a generation of ghosts. They drive on our roads and benefit from our national stability, yet they contribute zero to the funds meant to catch them when they fall. Madam Moderator, the mathematics are devastating. According to the 2025 to 2026 budget estimate, the government appropriated $47.3 million for retirement benefits this year alone. Why? Because as stated by Deputy Director of the DSS, Augustus Etienne, 97% of our social security funding comes solely from the formal sector. Madam Moderator, nearly the entire weight of our national safety net, the pensions of your grandmother, and the sickness benefits of your neighbor rests on a dwelling minority, with expenditures hitting 108% of income. This is a countdown to failure. Every under the table payment means the 14.2% contribution does not just get delayed, it vanishes. It is a multi-million dollar drain howling out the vault. Secondly, Madam Moderator, the social contract in our nature island is being destroyed. This free rider culture imposes a trust deficit on every hardworking, law-abiding Dominican. Behavioral science proves the soccer factor. Voluntary compliance craters the moment a citizen realizes they are subsidizing a cheater. This turns cooperation into resentment. Why should a small business owner struggle to pay their 14.25% when the competitor operates in the shadows with no consequence? We cannot build a resilient nation on a foundation cracked by systematic unfairness. With CARICOM free movement impact, our services are now open to a wider regional population. If getting by without giving in becomes the new norm, the math fails for everyone. Madam Moderator, this creates a double burden. Actuarial analyst of the DSS, Marcus Zizak, noted that non-contributors become massive liabilities because the system remains legally obligated to pay their benefits based on past contributions, even though they have stopped paying in. Moderator, they skip the bill today, only to demand a seat at the table tomorrow. They invade the system during their high earning years to rely on state assistance in their twilight years. When the free rider dominates, the social equation reaches a terminal zero. Moderator, the opposition may claim that the informal sector is a minor leak. But how many leaks can a ship sustain before it becomes a coffin? When payouts eclipse income, the clock isn't just ticking, it is striking midnight. We are asking the few to carry the many until the few can no longer stand. The choice is simple. We either tax the shadow today or we leave our children to live in them tomorrow. Madam Moderator, I have rest my case.
Thank you, Kudez. For the judges, her time was 5 minutes and 43 seconds. I'll now call on the second speaker from the opposing team, the Wesley High School, Miss Niola Aline, to the podium. Miss Aline will have 7 minutes in which to deliver her arguments. Miss Aline.
Madam Moderator, honorable judges, my worthy opponents, and my esteemed colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Let me begin by commending my colleague for her passionate address. She has laid the foundation. I am here to build the house. My opponent would have you believe that the informal sector is the antagonist in this story, the thief stealing from the purse, but they are looking for a needle in the wrong haystack. The true assassin of our system is not the man working off the books. It is the man who cannot work at all. Formal sector unemployment is a double-edged sword that cuts deeper and bleeds faster than any informal activity ever could. There are 4 counts in this indictment. 1, the 108% trap. 2, the productivity gap. 3, brain drain, which is the permanent amputation of our future. And 4, the administrative load fallacy. Let us look at the 108% trap. A chilling reality from Dominica's Social Security 2020 annual report, published in 2024, states that the total benefit expenditure reached 108% of contributions income. The chairman of this report admits, and I quote, for every $1 of contributions income collected, the institution paid out $1.08 in benefit payments. End of quote. Where did that extra 8 cents come from? It was stripped from our investment income. This is cannibalizing our children's future. When a formal worker is laid off, the pension system suffers a double whammy. This is because the $1 income vanishes instantly, and the DSS is hit with a redundancy claim. Under the Protection of Employment Act, DSS pays out massive lump sums for redundancy. The DSS stays financially untouched by an informal worker's bad season, yet it suffers a hemorrhage of benefits when a formal business shuts its doors. My second point addresses the productivity gap. The proposition ignores the productivity gap. According to the World Bank's 2025 Caribbean Economic Review, formal sector workers in the OECS are 4 times more productive in terms of GDP contribution than informal workers. Losing one job in the knowledge economy, banking, or ICT is a value crisis. One senior civil servant's contribution simply cannot be replaced by 20 street vendors. As Dr. Justin Ram rightly stated, I quote, the informal sector is a buffer for the citizens, but it is a desert for the fund. End of quote. Therefore, the formal employment is the sole anchor. When Barbados faced formal unemployment during restructuring, their fund's net cash flow turned negative for the first time in history. Madam Moderator, Dominica is on that same path to a negative net cash flow. Now let's move on to the brain drain, the permanent amputation of our future. When formal unemployment rises, who leaves? It is not the elderly. It is our young, educated professionals who leave. When high-profile businesses close, it creates systemic cynicism, and young people conclude the system as a sinking ship. They don't just go informal, they emigrate. They pack their bags for Canada or the UK, and they never look back. And a citizen who has left the country might never be taxed. This is a permanent amputation of the Dominica Social Security future leg. Honorable judges, let me ask you this question. Is a vendor who stays in Roseville a greater threat than an engineer who migrates to London? The vendor can easily be formalized tomorrow, whereas the engineer's 30 years of contributions are gone forever. Now let's dive into the administrative load fallacy. The proposition says, formalize them, but at what cost? The DSS 13th actuarial review shows that the cost the cost to chase one self-employed person is 40% higher than processing 1,000 formal employees via payroll. Losing formal jobs forces the DSS to spend more on enforcement while having less in the pot. It is a negative return on investment. An International Social Security Association ISSA report in 2025 noted that, open quote, Caribbean funds focusing on informal outreach during high unemployment saw administrative costs rise by 12% while collections only rose by 2%, close quote. If the treatment costs 6 times more than the remedy it produces, is it medicine or is it malpractice? So, what can be done, you may ask? While the real battle is against formal unemployment, we do not ignore the informal sector. We acknowledge the challenge and provide solutions. Firstly, I suggest that we make targeted investments that generate meaningful returns and attract formal employment. Secondly, run massive awareness campaigns to increase voluntary contributors in the informal sector, like the one to be done right here in Dominica this Saturday, March 28, 2026. Thirdly, and most importantly, start with our children. Do not wait until adults have made up their minds. Strike while the iron is still hot. Integrate Social Security into the school curriculum to fix the compliance gap before it starts. Madam Moderator, the informal sector is a leak, but formal sector unemployment is a catastrophic collapse. The 108% trap proves that we are already spending more than we earn. The redundancy fund creates a massive legal liability, and the brain drain ensures that today's unemployment becomes tomorrow's insolvency. Additionally, formalizing the informal sector is an administrative load fallacy. As the Social Security Financial Look Update 2025 warns, and I quote, the prospect of a benefit cut only 8 years away should focus our attention, end of quote. We must stop worrying about the leaking roof and start bracing the foundation. If the formal sector fails, the wolf won't just be at the door. He will be sitting right here at the head of the table. And for these reasons, I urge you to reject the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Aline. For the judges, her time was 7 minutes and 1 second. This is the end of the prepared argument segment of the debate, and now the debaters will go into preparation for their rebuttal. Before I allow them the 5 minutes of silence to prepare their rebuttals, I'm going to give them a little lead time by announcing to you, our audience, the criteria that the judges are using to score the prepared argument segment which just passed. The judges were looking for Thank you, Ms. John. For the judges, her time was 2 minutes and 19 seconds. I'll now call on the lead speaker from the Wesley High School to deliver her rebuttal, Ms. Hepzibah Ademola. She will have 3 minutes in which to do so. Ms. Ademola?
Once again, good afternoon, everyone. After listening to the proposing side arguments, my colleague and I were able to identify some flaws which undermines my opponent's argument. To begin, my opponent indicated that informal employment is a parasite sucking the social security because they come when they need pension or benefit. But it is of note to tell you that the DSS operates under the no contribution, no benefit. Because for you to claim pension or benefits from the DSS, you must have a number of credits acquired for you to claim benefits. So once you don't contribute, no benefits. My opponent also talked about the rapidly growing informal sector is affecting the DSS. My opponent seems to forget we are talking about formal unemployment. As I stated earlier, as formal jobs disappear, the dependency ratio climbs. When people lose their jobs, they tend to go to the DSS to collect benefits. Even when they don't lose their jobs, they have to go for sick leave, benefits, this and that benefits, my wife is pregnant benefits, stuff like that. But that is if you have a number of contributions with the DSS. My opponent also stated that government can create jobs for the unemployed. For government to create jobs, attract contracts, it takes years, sometimes even decades, for the government to create jobs. And for the employment of the informal sector, they go out, rent a store, some are farmers, things planted in their backyard, they sell, they have money. It is for the DSS to go to them and then collect their contributions. Because if we have to wait for years for the government to create formal jobs, we are already losing a lot of contributions in those years waited for the jobs to be created. Ladies and gentlemen, therefore, on logic, evidence, and on principle, we oppose. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ademola. For the judges, her time was 2 minutes and 27 seconds. So, ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the debate between the St. Martin Secondary School and the Wesley High School. I'd like you to give the debaters a round of applause. And now the ball is in the judges' court. So I'd like to ask the judge's assistant to please escort our 3 judges to a secure location where they will quickly deliberate, quickly, in 15 minutes, and return with the results. I have a judge who needs to catch a flight. So judges, we are excusing you, and we expect you back in quick time. Thank you. Debaters, the pressure is off now, and so you can return to your team. So I will first ask the St. Martin Secondary School, the proposing side, Ms. Shania John and Curtis Simon, to return to their teams, and the opposing side, the Wesley High School, Ms. Hepzibah Ademola and Ms. Niola Arlene, to return to their teams. Thank you, ladies. And I think we should give them another round of applause. Definitely a very hard-fought battle, a strong semi-final round. This is the first semi-final round of the day, semi-final debate of the day. The next one is at 2:30, and it will be between the Isaiah Thomas Secondary School and the Dominica Grammar School. The winner, of course, of this afternoon's debate will move to the finals. And then the winner of the 2:30 debate will also move to the finals. So we're looking for the two finalists after today's round. Okay? So we got a lot of information. Dominican Social Security staff, I know you all heard your names um, throughout the arguments, and a lot of information, a lot of analogies, a lot of very interesting scenarios. I now want to, of course, call, I think, Marcus, you are doing this segment for me, Mr. Jajak? Yes? That's what I was told. If it's not you, then somebody else. But I want, I want someone to lead from the team on the topic, yes, and also, what Social Security has going on right now, and to engage us a bit. I am not an expert in the topic area, but of course, I expect you all to guide us. So tell me who's coming to lead the discussion in that regard. Mr. Jajak, it's you? Okay. All right. And of course, as we proceed, questions and so on, people can address them, and anybody from the team could answer. Okay?
Hello, good morning, everyone. Is it still morning, afternoon? Um, First, I'd just like to congratulate the two schools, the two debating teams. I thought they did an excellent job. And the topic itself was a mouthful. And I thought that they brought some very interesting perspectives on the topic, because even while I was there were certain things that came to me that I didn't really think about. I forgot the first speaker of the opposing side when she mentioned you can't get contributions from somebody who doesn't have a job, for example. That is um, compared to if you will try to get contribution from someone from the informal sector. You have some options there, but there's no real option when someone doesn't have any kind of employment. So they both brought in very good points. One of my favorite points from the proposing side was um, when it comes to the social contract that we have. Oh. No, okay. I was trying to say my favorite points from each one, though. Each one, yes. It was that you can get from this one, and from my favorite point from that one is the social contract. Yeah. Um, yeah. So I think that the debate really highlights the importance of contributions in terms of ensuring that we have sustainability in the future. It highlights the difficulties and challenges that Social Security faces, both with dealing with informal employment and the informal sector, and also with cases when we undergo unemployment, for example, with Fair Harbor and other institutions that may lose their workforce, and we are no longer getting those contribution income while we still have a liability to pay out. I'm happy that one of the participants mentioned that we'll be going on a drive on Saturday. So on Saturday, we'll be doing an on wheels where we'll be going from Roseau to Portsmouth, stopping along the way, visiting various communities, and just educating people on Social Security, why they need it, and the benefits that they can reap once they've contributed and part of the system. That's it. I like to. Yeah, that's it from me.
Thank you. No, so typically at this in this time of the debate proceedings, when we're waiting for the judges' results, we would engage in a conversation on the moot, but of course not in a way to prejudice anybody's opinion or to, give any sort of idea of where the debate may be leaning. So we want to discuss the moot, and this is the time when, as I said, of course, we can ask questions and members from the team can respond accordingly. I want to start with a question though for the young people. We have a topic relating to social security and contributions, sustainability of the social security system. I know the young people may have heard prior to this afternoon's debate about social security. We have people going to enter the workforce pretty soon. My first question I'm throwing on that is only to the students in the room is what are you anxious in any way about when you start working, having to contribute to social security? Is that something that you have heard about, thought about, are anxious about? I see someone put up their hand. It's not a student, but it's a young entrepreneur who's in the room. Do you want to start the ball rolling? Mr. Bello? Yes? And it would be interesting because you are in the informal sector, so I guess you can start the ball rolling. But I also want to hear from the students after. But Mr. Bello, you can go ahead. Would you want to come to the front? Yes. So our viewers on Emonews and Dominican News Online can catch you in living color. Come.
I didn't expect to be given a presidential podium, but good day, everybody. It's a pleasure to see you guys. Even as a college student who started my business straight out of college, I never really understood the whole social security section when it came to life. I currently am part, I have the accountant so on with you guys, but in terms of understanding and so on, as a young person, it always felt scary, just knowing I'm giving to something that I don't know if I'll ever get when I get older. Sometimes you die early, sometimes you don't know, okay, what's going to happen. Sometimes you just know, okay, that's a payment deduction. And then you're wondering what's going to really happen. And then even growing up, I was with somebody that would be around me that's like in the older folks, teachers and so on. I'd be like, I just paying that and I know it's a deduction, but what is going to happen to me? And it always seemed like a scary thing growing up because a lot of people are not educated about the purpose and the reasoning and the benefit of having social security. So I feel like it has always been scary. Even now I'm in the working world, I do contribute and I do know, okay, certain aspects to the benefit of it. But it still seems like a scary situation, even as a youth growing up. You might just be a student in high school or maybe in college and you're wondering, boy, when I start working, is the money that gone? Sometimes you say, nice day to go and buy a little food and you see it deducted, but you don't know the true purpose sometimes.
Thank you, Mr. Bello. I see Mr. Etienne is coming to respond. And Mr. Etienne, I want you to, when you do respond, to also get some feedback from the high schoolers, because Mr. Bello is a graduate of the Dominican State College. He's currently self-employed. But the high schoolers who are not employed yet, I want their feeling on it as well. Go ahead.
Thank you for that, Mr. Bello. And that is why we as an institution try to get an opportunity to engage with our senior students before they graduate from school, to kind of equip you with the information before you actually exit school and start working. Truth be told, it may not always have been a position of the DSS where we used to do education. But for the last several years, we've taken that very seriously, and we try to inform people about what the program is about, how it works, the various benefits available to them. And so we have a radio program every month. We go to the different schools, we go to workplaces, we go to churches, wherever we get the opportunity to speak about the program so that people can better understand and appreciate the role of the institution. Events like this debate was an opportunity for these students to research on social security, and to better understand how it works so that they can now educate their family at the end of the month before you even see it. But it is a safety net that the state has put in place to provide us with income when our ability to work and earn income is affected by certain things that we're exposed to in life. When you're working, you can fall sick anytime. You can get injured. You can become disabled. If you live long, you will retire from employment and you will eventually die. So the law says what benefits are available to you when. So something has to happen to you to affect your earning ability for the system to give back something to you. So the debate was talking about people who participate and don't participate. The people who don't contribute haven't got a claim against the system because it is a contributory system. It is by paying contributions that you're able to access benefits when you need to. Okay? Students. So some of the students might have been privy to, well, your college students for sure might have been privy to a session where we would have spoken to them at high school. And we also go to the college when we get invited, once they can accommodate us to speak to the college students as well. And we do sessions with DYBT, with youth skills people when they're graduating, to give them the information ahead of time so that they can be equipped with the information when they go out there. Know what their rights and responsibilities are, know what the benefits are so that they can avail themselves of the protection that we are meant to provide. Yes? Questions? Clarification? Your young people, what are your views on Social Security from what you gathered here today? From what you might have been hearing in the public domain? Yeah, what you hear in the public domain is not always gospel, but at least that is what you might be exposed to. And when you hear it, you might have a certain impression, a certain opinion. But when you get the facts of the matter, you can make a better judgment in terms of where the truth lies. Yes? Yes, miss. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right, right, right. Mm-hmm. Okay, okay, okay. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Right, right, yeah, right, yeah. Right. It is, yes. Yeah, yeah. So that is cool. That was the fact I was just going to reference that. Mhm. Yeah, right. Exactly. Exactly. Mhm. Yes, yes. Mhm. Indeed, because you're better. Yeah, yeah. Yes. Mhm. Indeed, indeed. Agreed. And that's why I like the point of your student that said we should start at the school level. In fact, that's something we've been contemplating. We just have to determine at what level we peg it. Is it at the primary level? So that it doesn't have to be, it's not necessarily a whole, something you have to study for a whole semester. But you can have a few hours of session on the importance of the social safety net. And the benefit of the system is that we have this full concept that all of us are paying into. Yes, you can.
But the concept of the you get off the pool far more than you put in the need or the situation that you find yourself. They support payments to you when you need it. Whereas when you have savings and so you only get that from the financial institution. What you put in there with the interest and the money. With social security, once you qualify, you want to take the payment as long as we have it. But you see, reference was made to the informal sector. That's fine, that's fine. The British is in those people who work online. And it's been mentioned to different sources of income that is useful and is helpful. But some people leave formal employment to go into informal employment because they can get more money, they can get it without being recorded and so on. The problem for us is that these people that used to contribute before, when they go into informal sector, they are still employed. And the right thing should be contributed because the fact that they contribute while they were formally employed, we have a commitment to them. And when you still working, you still are supposed to be contributing. So if you're going to informal employment, when you earn it and should be contributing, and you fail to contribute, we still owe you an obligation. That is when it's so simple to start. The people who in the formal sector, they stop working. When they're not working, they're not required to contribute. We have an obligation to them as well. But if they're not working and earning, at the time they're not working, they're not required to contribute. But those who leave formal employment and start working in formal, those contribute either with formal employment or yeah. I know the students did an excellent job of side, an excellent job in the topic, because the first two lines, some of the that we also see and put in orders. And so going forward, I'm sure we'll take on board and we'll get a recording of the presentation. So, you know, the evaluation of how we tackle the situation going forward. We'll have some guidance.
Currently in our economy. But what about people who, I think this was mentioned in the debate as well, the common side hustle aspect of life, you know, where you may have people in the formal sector with formal sector jobs, but with a side hustle that's really paying even better than the job that we keep in for security purposes. How is that affecting social security as well? So is it people in the formal sector, but there is income from the informal sector as well?
This is something that we've been advocating for. So people contribute both from their formal employment and from their side hustle. And at the same time, but everything that we've got social security is legislated. At the moment, if you're an employee, your employee states precedence in your self-employed status because the benefits that employees have access to is wider, greater than what self-employed person access to. So if you're an employee, you get a lot of contributors, you get a wider range of benefits. But that has been changed. Adding additional benefits for self-employed persons. But we recognize that people can still or should be able to contribute when they're being paid. The legislation after the amendments, we just have what the principles to enact the amendments. But it's something that we recognize this could happen because we have, for example, like the lecturing at the college for you. I think before that, but the office as a lawyer, as an accountant, making bigger money there. And with this money, you pay them as a practice. That is when it's contribution. And we realize it's not beneficial to me. But if we can allow them to contribute on both, once they're not paying on the maximum level of course, their earnings, the amount of earnings that they cover for will be better, higher. That's what I believe it will be higher. It's something that we have to continue to pursue. We pay the amendments because I'm going to try to press on the principle that it is affecting because it's affecting everything.
Thank you for that. Mr. Nations. To make it in that capacity. I don't understand the difference between the payments and college. But I just feel, this whole discourse is once we have the opportunity, I hear the chance from some of the students about what people claim benefit for under the social security system, pregnant wife, and so on. I am specifically interested, and I want to throw that out, I think this will be my last question. I was promised the judges will be coming soon, about the sick benefits. Of course, we see a lot of people resorting to crowdfunding when they're sick. A lot of people maybe have unfortunate circumstances and end up having to ask the general population to contribute to the system whilst they are sick. I want to know what is the sick benefit and how does it apply to those under the social security system. My last question.
To say that the benefits are offer an income replacement benefits. So, a working person, when you go to work, get paid your salary. If you are sick and you cannot go to work, you will not have access to your salary. So, the sickness benefit that we speak of is a replacement of 60% of your salary. But the period that you are sick and you have to do. Okay? You're talking about people who might be affected by major health issues and they have to keep medical attention. People who fund me, sponsorship and things like that's different. That's not part of it. That would have to be something that would come on board because of national health insurance. Yeah. So we offer income replacement benefit sickness when you are sick as a woman if you are pregnant and you have to have it from a baby if you have an accident and the accident renders you unable to move out of life. If you become disabled, when you become pensionable, and when you die, these are the times when you are able to access the benefit from the system. The contribution to bring into the system and for benefits that is like with this income, you cannot always because of that particular situation for that.
It's interactive, of course, with the social security team. Anybody has any questions before we wrap up this segment? Any questions from our coaches, from our students, from our debaters themselves? You have them, okay?
Have you all ever, I know that when people pass the chief of the age children, the spouse, they get benefits. Have you ever considered if people have contributed and they die before they have, received any benefit, giving some of their contribution to a family member? Has that ever been a discussion? Almost like that.
I mentioned the events that they benefit. I said death. So, any event that will happen to somebody that will trigger payment from social security. Payments are really on one death. Funeral number was a death and they go to us because they go to be survived by the parents as spouse, children. And children, the children are defined as children of under 21 playing for unmarried at school or with an independent single child irrespective of the child's age. We go as fees if the person is childless, spouseless, until they might have parent or grandparent above the age of 65. So they were supporting whatever they that parent or grandparent can receive. That would be benefit that they are getting or that would be benefit that child should. So if the now, the law says with independence have to be a spouse, legally married, and body based on children, dependent children. Single child irrespective of the age or irrespective of the system.
Besides education, we know that there is the voluntary contribution.
all the systems are realizing that and taking steps to try to ensure that we can reach these people and protect them. But there has to be issues that we have on the field that we need to look into and see that. Because whereas the law was employer by a class of teacher, if you are self-employed, you are so we can do the best efforts that we have. If they are not committed to it, we will start to use it and abandon it and make it that way. So this is something that we have continued to do because we are supposed to maximize coverage in terms of as well as possible information as we can cover. We need to cover as well as what we have to say on information as well as to ensure sustainability. So it's something that we continue to pursue, but we need the operations and the support.
Judges are returned here. And so we exit set for results. And of course, we will transition into the second debate and immediately after conclusion of this. So, thank you, Social Security team, Mr. Etienne, Mr. Jota, for assisting us in this segment. I'd now like to call on the Chief Judge of this afternoon's debate, Mr. Firelander, to deliver a critique from the judges, and then we will have results. Thank you very much, Mr. Etienne. So you have to interrogate. We would like to, on behalf of the judges, first of express congratulations to all teams for a job well done. Let's give them a round of applause. And whenever the judges go over the 15 minutes, both teams gave us a lot of food for thought. So I must say that was the reason why we were stuck, and we had to make sure that we come to you with the results in a very timely manner, and I do hope we were not too over time. And I want to apologize on behalf of my colleague here who could not stay for the results because she had to catch her flight. So in terms of the overall analysis of the debate, I believe both teams and my colleagues both believed that the teams had a good handle of the topic. In fact, the moot was one that we felt was entirely difficult, and it was one that would have required a lot of thought process, a lot of research, which we believe both teams did an amazing job. And give yourselves a round of applause for that. And just a caution to both teams for future debates, of course, whichever team is moving on to the finals, as well as the team who may not be moving on to the finals and would be requiring guidance moving forward. We just want to let you know that whenever you are utilizing sources, that please ensure that your sources are in fact reputable, and understand that sources need to be able to be fact-checked, and the sources that are open source, if you will, if you're coming on and you can just go on to the site and put in information, those sources are not the best and should not be utilized to support your arguments. We also want to applaud both teams for utilizing, of course, what we refer to as interviews, and who went to the Dominica Social Security. This was a Dominica Social Security fact and topic, I should say, sorry, and both teams showed that they did their research. We had a reference to the Dominica Social Security Act, which I smiled when I heard it because I was looking for it to be mentioned, and I was very happy that that was referenced, and showed that the DSS is a legal framework, and it's not something that was just thought of. It's guided by law, and it's something that we are required, and they are guided by knowledge. You know the information. guys, but sometimes when you aren't overly reacting to your script, just a simple distraction, looking up at the audience, seeing your friend in the audience, then can throw you off and make you have to have an unnecessary pause on your speech. Speak as well. You have 10 minutes as a first speaker, 7 minutes as a second speaker. It's better to have less information and be impactful than try to have more information stuck into that 10 minutes. You're rushing and we did not hear one word that you said. So it's wholeheartedly, we want to make sure that whoever is moving forward, as well as the students who are not moving forward, you understand that the debate and public speaking are skills that are honed, and I think all the presenters this afternoon did an amazing job, made their schools proud, and I want to wish the Moving On team all the best for the finals, and want to also indicate that the final thing I would like to say is that our rebuttals need to be based on the topic. And when I say that, I mean, you come here this afternoon and the moot has been presented, it has to be based on the debate. Introduction of new points, that's not that point. The rebuttal is not for that point. Reading from a prepared script is not for the rebuttal. You have to be ready based on what has been presented this afternoon. So what the opposing team or proposing team would have said, you listen to what they're saying and you recall the points. That is where the proof is in the pudding, as they say in debates. Because the recall of points lets us understand what points exactly are you refuting. But just coming out and repeating what you've already said does not benefit you because we've heard it already. We listened to your prepared speech. Now, during the rebuttal is the point when you pull points from the opposing team and you say, I'm attacking this point by this point. So I do hope that we can improve our rebuttals. I must say we are getting there from what I have seen in the inter-secondary school debate competition. However, we still have some room for improvement, and that goes to both teams. So wishing all of you the best and looking forward to seeing the finals. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Landa. I'd now like to call on the debaters to take their seats back at the front while we get ready to hear the results. From the proposing team, the St. Martin Secondary School, Ms. Shania John and Ms. Curtis Simon, I'd like to call you back to your seats. And from the opposing school, the opposing team, the Wesley High School, Ms. Hepzibah Ademola and Ms. Niola Aline. Okay, so the debaters are back in position and now it's time for results. Of course, the winning school moves on to the finals, April 14th. The judges have decided out of a total possibly of 780 points from all three judges combined, One school has scored 516 points, which means that the team with 573 points who has won this afternoon's debate is from the Wesley High School, the opposing team. Of course, I congratulate all our debaters for a hard-fought battle, but this afternoon, the Wesley High School, for the first time, will be moving on to the finals. I'd like to ask for some assistance, please, in distributing prizes, of course, to our debaters and to our runners-up. And I will start with calling up the runners-up in this afternoon's debate, the St. Martin Secondary School, Miss Shania John and Miss Curtis Simon, to receive their prizes. Of course, the representative from the Is the representative from Central Cooperative Credit Union here? No. Okay, so let's do the prizes for Miss Shania John and Miss Curtis Simon, St. Martin Secondary School, please. Come. Okay, next. Okay, all right. Let's. My photographer who will be contributing a lot to the Dominica Social Security because he's a very good entrepreneur. And he wants to make sure he gets perfect photos. Thank you to our runners-up, Miss Shania John and Miss Curtis Simon. We'll now do the prize for Best Speaker, Miss Hepzibah Demola from the Wesley High School. Yes. Just give it to me. Just do the presentation. The Best Speaker will be getting a prize sponsored by Shams Eats and Treats, and she can come to the front to receive her prize. Okay, and the winners can both come up now from the Wesley High School for their trophies and their prizes, and from the Dominica Social Security, the representative who will be handing over the plaque to the winning school. Congratulations, Team Wesley High School. You can. Okay, step. There are no smiles from the winners?
1, 2, 3, smile.
And we'll get more photos after, but we really need to end this one so we can move on to the next debate. So we'll get photo ops. Okay, so we need to work on the smiling, right, for the finals.
I really want to say congratulations to both schools. That was very good. If I was a judge, to the wheel on both. I know. It was a difficult topic, and I'm really pleased with your work. I know that you did a lot of work, so congratulations. And I was telling him, we need to get a copy of your presentations for Sue. You know, we were very pull from it. You all did an excellent job, just that one team had to. Okay, so congratulations. So, each person gets one.
Yes, each person
gets one. Social Security.
Because Social Security, your prizes.
Okay, and Shania John, I also have a Shania John at my office. So I see Shania in the position. So congratulations.
Thank you. And to the coach of the school who will be leaving us in this round, the St. Martin Secondary School is leaving us in this round, and I always like to recognize the very hard work of the coaches. As a coach, I know a lot of work has to go into coaching. So to Mrs. Lee, the coach from the St. Martin Secondary School, leaving the competition at this time, would like to present you with a gift. And I'd like to give you a round of applause for your determined effort. The coaches from the Wesley High School, your job continues. So, no gift as yet, but Mrs. Lee can relax now. And our
on both sides of the topic many times. So please use AI and generate for me.
All right, thank you, Mr. Winston, for your word of advice, and to the Chief Judge, Mr. Firelander, thank you for your constant support of the competition. Thank you so much. All right, Wesley High School to live on camera pick the topic or the side that they will get for the finals. And can you take the topics right there for me, please? Miss Animal, I think as the lead speaker, you should be the one to choose. You're going to choose what topic. And read the topic that's
Dominica should amend its sexual offense of the identities of accused sexual offenders in the public interest.
So the Wesley High School will be debating on that note in the finals. Thank you so much. And that's it for the first semi-final debate. We reconvene at 2:30. There are refreshments that need to be distributed, please, for debaters and for some of our audience. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for viewing. We will be back at 2:30 for the second debate. See you soon, and I hope you enjoy this debate competition. And congratulations to the Wesley High School.